Oh, hey, are you ready? Um, okay, I'll see you on there. All right, bye. Hey, Jordan,
Hello, hello.
and hi.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, hello. Let me just get settled here. Hello to
Same.
everybody at home today. Hi, hi, hi. I'm here. My name is Tim Sang from Automata. I'm very glad to be here with artist Jordan Wong. Hi, Jordan. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Um,
Hello, hello.
uh, you're gonna hate this, Jordan, but I think to kind of start things off, you said it was gonna be informal, but I want to read your bio. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. All right,
Of
cool.
course.
All right. So for those of you that don't know Jordan or know Jordan, yeah, a collector of souvenir state spoons and overpriced uni uni alpha.
I'm not, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you feel like
I'm
it. I
not
feel
sure
like
how
an
to
idiot
pronounce
already. Okay.
it.
Anyway, these really fancy gel lead pencils. I'm the wrong person. Jordan Wong is a Chinese American experimental animator and filmmaker driven by emotional honesty and hands-on processes. He received a BFA in film animation video at RISD in 2014 and an MFA in experimental animation at CalArts in 2020. His films have been screened internationally, including the DOK Leipzig, NewFest, Animafest Zagreb, Japan Media Arts Festival, at Ann Arbor Film Festival, where he was awarded the Tom Berman Award for Most Promising Filmmaker for the film Mom's Clothes. Um, yeah, I hope that didn't make you feel too weird, but I couldn't help but feel emotional honesty. I think that really struck me when yeah, I first met you and got to kind of talk to you and this kind of hands-on. I'm so full of questions I want to ask you and but maybe a good way to start off is like let's start off with you or yeah with you and the quilt or what happened where
Good.
yeah yeah
Yeah, yeah. So this quilt was it's part of a larger project that I've been working on that it's part of sort of my graduating thesis project from CalArts that is still in the works right now. I graduated last year, but it's I think because of the obviously the pandemic, things have sort of timelines have shifted a little. So, but I don't know. In some ways, it was sort of I hesitantly say blessing in disguise to have more time to work on it. But yeah, so I mean it's been sort of it's been a really strange project where like maybe 2 years ago when I was first starting to work on my thesis, it was I had initially planned for the like this entire film to revolve around the creation of this of the quilt that's behind me now.
Mhm.
And
The
not
film is
really.
revolving around the quilt you're saying
Yeah, yeah.
okay
It
I see
was
I
a
see
lot of it in part is sort of was sort of inspired by this just idea of like wanting to make a quilt. I had
uh-huh
worked on a project prior to that at my time at CalArts and which involved using fabric and but not in sort of like such a technical way of constructing or manipulating fabric. And this was this is a project that was spurred on by like wanting to sort of advance that and just learn for myself and thinking that it might be like a fun thing to do, but also might
right
be
right
interesting to, I don't know, connect with some other larger idea. And um, a bunch of strange things sort of happened where like I ended up not making the quilt until way later. And I ended up
yeah
working on like a different sort of tile
uh-huh.
project.
You mentioned like the technicality of the quilt. I mean, I know nothing about quilt making, and I didn't know what a cyanotype was. So can you talk us through, yeah, what we're looking at behind you and maybe on the screen, and like, yeah, yeah, what the heck is that?
Yeah, definitely. The thing that we're seeing right now is like a zoomed in close up of just one of the squares of the quilt that's in the very center, or like near the very center. And so it's sort of this like orange tint color, and that's been machine embroidered, where I like sort of designed something on the computer as like a vector, and then had to sort of translate that to like embroidery language that is
Computer. Oh, I see. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's like it's kind of it's like a lot to say, and none of it's like that interesting. But and it's like it's I was learning a lot about a lot of problem solving in the process of this, of like learning machine embroidery and learning how to quilt were two huge things I didn't really know how to do initially, and but ended up being kind
would
of
you mind slowing
fun.
down for me? Like the machine embroidery, like what is that? It's like
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Jumping all over the place. So this thing that we're seeing on screen, this one square, the orange bit, that has
big
all
one.
been, yeah, that has been like machine embroidered. So what happened is that I had like a design on the computer that I designed like an Illustrator, and then exported like an image of that, and then there's a couple of different ways in which you can like translate a vector, like an image, just any image, into like a different kind of language that in which a machine that can embroider things for you can just transfer it directly, essentially, almost like a 3D printer kind of logic.
Yeah, like a 3D printer, but like with really homey materials.
Yeah, it's still like kind of unpredictable because things can like mess up like pretty often, or like I don't know, the machine can have like a mind of its own, or there's like any 20 steps in the middle of it all that can like make things weird.
So is it like I don't know anything about sewing it, but like is it like if you if the machine like screws up or like makes the wrong image, or like you have a lot of like interior deco or something, like if it's like the wrong house or something, like do you have to start like the whole thing from scratch, or like how are the kind of, or are
Well,
you just
so
working on each?
I'm working on each square individually. So each square is about 6 by 6 inches large.
Got
And
it.
so like it's kind of hard to see because it's a little blown out, but the very border, like the very interior border of the quilt, those are all orange, and those are all in machine embroidered. And then everything that's blue is a cyanotype fabric material.
I see.
And so the machine embroidered bit, if it messes up, like I kind of just had to roll with it because I was on a time crunch. But it's kind of a thing where like if it messes up, it's actually kind of interesting usually. But unless unless it's just sometimes it's unusable.
It's life.
But
yeah.
It's kind of like a set it and forget it thing where you just let it run and you can come back in like 3 hours and and you just hope it is good.
Okay. So like how big is the whole thing like in total? You said 6 by 6 inches is one square.
Yeah, so that's each of them are 6 by 6 inches. The entire thing spans about the size it's in between the size of a queen size quilt and a king size. So I don't really quite remember the specs of that, but that's around the size of it. I think I think it's like 14 squares like lengthwise, and then like 15 squares up and down. I don't quite remember the number, but it's something like that.
I see.
So if I had more math, I could do that on the spot.
I suck at math.
But and then I guess to your other question about the cyanotype bit, that's like a new thing I was also just trying to figure out. So the other project I was working on that was sort of taking the place of this for some time was this kind of larger like ceramic tile quilt project where I was kind of following like a very similar line of process of like designing everything on the computer and then printing it out onto a transparency and then having that design like essentially silk screen onto ceramic tiles. I actually didn't make them. I had a lot of help making it, but this was a very similar process where I designed all the sort of things that we're seeing on within each tile on the computer, and then printing that onto transparencies But then instead of like a silk screen process, I bought this like pre-treated like mural fabric that has this cyanotype chemicals in it, and using these like printed transparencies that have been quite like pretty detailed, and using that to just put on top and exposing light on it, like UV light on it for a certain amount of time to expose it, and sort of like a cameraless operation that and I'm really kind of fascinated by right now.
Wow, yeah. I mean, it's that's super cool. I mean, my head's gonna explode. I'm just is it anything to do with like I'm totally ignorant about this, but like, is it have anything to do with like China making, like, you know, the blue and white ceramic, you know, like I'm from Hong Kong. I think you're, yeah, as well, and
Yeah.
or the roots, you know, we'll kind of get to your family maybe in a little bit or whatnot, or we don't have to. But yeah, is there any relation like with in terms of like the historical or kind of thinking about the
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish it was intentional. It's not.
you could say
It's
so
not.
honest,
That's
emotional
just like
honesty. Yeah.
that's just how the fabric is.
Okay, okay.
The
Maybe I'm
cyanotype
reading too
material.
much into it, but like the blue and
Um,
white, I mean, just reminds me of like Opium War, you know, like Hong Kong, yeah, British, all that, and
Totally. Yeah. I
which
mean, I
kind of
think
leads. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think I just lucked out. I just got lucky with
Oh,
that. uh,
it's a good tie-in. I don't know, for me at least. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But it's um can you okay, so why quilt? Yeah, yeah. Why what you just woke up one day and I don't know. It's,
Um, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I don't have maybe the most logical answer. So like the project I was working on before, like in my very first year at CalArts, I was making a film where I was just really intrigued by fabric and what
mm,
potential fabric had with to coincide with animation. So I made
right.
a film sort of revolving around that had to do, that was sort of connecting the dots of like queerness, but also clothing that we wear to present ourselves to the world, and how like sort of a queer identity is in large part like how you present yourself to the world. And so I don't know, I was really fascinated by like two large ideas, like the sort of queer identity, but also wanting to work with fabric and animating fabric. And that's sort of like I know those two ideas kind of coincide in like a really uh nice way. But I mean, so anyway, the film itself was kind of spurred on by wanting to just by trying to see like how far I could push like commercial, like finding commercially printed fabric that had like intricate designs on it and photographing them in a way in which it would animate, and sort of seeing like how I don't know how far that could take that and how interesting that would be for like a film. Um, so and then like kind of nearing the end of that project, I started trying to like dye my own fabric and create my own patterns, that and see if that would animate. That just sort of seemed like a logical next evolution in like the process and making things sort of interesting for myself. Because after like a half a year of just animating like something that was sort of like essentially almost like found objects, I was trying to figure out a way to make things interesting again, to like keep it fresh. And so yeah, when working with fabric in that sort of way, this like kind of strange fabric manipulation of like bleaching or dyeing, was like really that was a really like intriguing sort of process for me. And so like the next step was sort of to want to like actually figure out a way in which to like make those in like a presentable way to show in like an installation. And so that project kind of evolved into this other installation project of like finding a way to hang the fabric. And then that sort of led to like, oh, what if I like figure out a way to sew them all together or something? And so it kind of it like made a lot of sense at the time.
Oh,
But it's kind of like a long walk to the answer. But
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I saw like a photograph from your show. I wasn't present when I think it was at CalArts maybe, where like there were like a tunnel almost, like a line of like these were they tiles that you can kind of imagine you could see through them or walk around them? These walls of yeah.
Yes.
Were the graphics also the same as the graphics on this quilt that we're looking at right now?
They're totally different. Yeah,
Okay,
those ones that were hanging in that gallery, those were all they were all just ones that I dyed myself, like dyed or bleached myself.
I see.
The ones that are on the wall, they're all, it's kind of like almost like a sort of an opposite process where like that sort of dyeing or like like bleaching process was very much one of like, I don't know what this is gonna look like, and I might need to trash it because it might not work. And like, I have no idea. It was very much, I have no idea what will happen. Or like what it might look like. But this was one where there was a lot more control with this process. Just because I was very much sort of thinking in the way of like, I have a very specific idea and like images that I want to sort of put into this, and I want as much control over how that is produced.
I see.
And so that sort of like cyanotype process was just like the quickest way in which that could happen.
That's so cool. Speaking of like the specific images, I have a message here on the Facebook chat from Susan Simpson. They're wondering if it's possible to move the camera or the laptop over to the quilt. Yeah, it might be clunky. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Yeah, but I think we'd love to see it. Yeah, super like up close and stuff. But we could use either camera. Okay, so. Those at home watching, yeah, please let me know if you can see it well. Okay. Well, I can't quite hear you, Jordan, but we could get a very good view of yeah. So yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry for that. Yeah, this has been such a thorn in my eye, figuring out how to document.
Maybe face the laptop. I think the mic is on the laptop, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like a.
Okay.
You might be able to change the setting, but I mean, it's okay if it's clunky. Like we just, yeah. I mean,
just like looking like a fool trying to talk into my. Okay.
No, it's cool. You're just recording it, you know.
Yeah, I know it's not great. I can zoom in particular areas to sort of get like a better picture of it, maybe. They're sort of. Oh, sorry.
Maybe you could be like a tour guide where, like, you know, we kind of see the lay of the land, and then like
totally.
if there's like one square that maybe speaks to you or is relevant to what we're talking about, like maybe we could try to have like a really close look at that. I don't know if that's asking a lot of you.
No, not at all. Yeah, I can definitely do that. It's kind of
Okay.
so maybe like just structurally, the quilt itself is split into 3 different sections.
Okay.
Where and each section sort of corresponds to a year in time, but to a year, and each of them are sort of document like a space in the home that I grew up in, essentially, in San Francisco. Yeah, so like we can start with the very first one, which I believe is 1994. So that's the one on the bottom. But I'll sort of drift away from the laptop to move the camera.
No, take your time. We have all the time. Yeah, we need.
Okay, so yeah. If you say something, I might not hear you.
Just wave you down. Yeah, that's getting good.
Okay, so maybe we can start at this kind of, so we can start in this section. There's one, out of the whole thing, there's one kind of larger square,
Oh,
just because it was, made sense in my head. But so it's kind of hard to see. I mean, it might be hard to see if you're looking at this at like a quick glance, but each of
mhm.
these squares within like, so there's three different sections, and in each
Okay.
section, there's like a bunch of different squares inside, right?
Uh-huh.
And each of those squares, for the most part, indicate sort of an aerial view of a room in the house it grew up in,
I see.
and they correspond to the time period. So, um, and so I guess I should say this is maybe a bit like spoilers for like the film, but this is like a direct correlation to this other tile project. I'm talking a lot about this tile project that we're not looking at, but they kind of work together in sort of like a unique way of they follow the same format. So the
Okay.
tile quilt is actually all about my dad and the spaces in which he's lived in his life since I've sort of lived essentially. And so this fabric quilt is a kind of almost as like a foil to that other tile project, in that they each kind of indicate the same time period but different spaces. So
I
the
see.
tile, or I'm calling it a quilt, is essentially the spaces in which my dad has lived, and this is the direct correlation of which my mom and my brother and I have lived. I guess, sort of background on that, and they divorced. I forgot quite what the year was, but it was a little bit after I was born. And so 1994, this is the very Actually, this is a little bit off, but this is year 1994. This is very much like almost directly after they were divorced, essentially. And so
I see.
this large square in the middle that we're looking at right now is an aerial view of the room in which I shared a room with my brother, my mom, and my aunt. And so it's kind of hard to tell, but there are four bunk beds in the top sort of top half section. There's like kind of
Okay.
long things are
Uh-huh.
indicating like these overlapping bunk beds, and then the rest of what we're looking at are sort of like as miscellaneous furniture in the room.
I see.
Um, as you can kind of see on the very bottom, there's like a really old TV with like a VHS player.
This is year 1994, you said, that we're looking at right now? Or
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I have the double.
just
I might be, this is embarrassing. I might be messing up the dates, but yeah, that's the very
no,
first
no.
one.
Yeah,
Theoretically, that's what it should be.
okay, great, great. I mean, I have
Um,
sorry, yeah, keep going. You're doing really great.
yeah, I might have indicated that wrong on the description, but
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what it
just
should
reading
be.
your notes. It says, yeah, it's 1994, 98, and 2020. Yeah. So
Yeah, so
what?
I would be
Yeah.
I would be 2 years old, which that might be
Oh,
wrong,
wow.
but um, but anyways, yeah. So this is the only square in the whole thing in which is slightly larger, just because all of us are in one room.
Wow.
This sort of new like family,
So
uh, like four person family with my
and
aunt,
this was
almost. Yeah,
San Francisco, right? It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, San Francisco, 1994. Family, you, your mom, brother, aunt. Is it like, is this, I don't have no idea in terms of scale. Is it like small? Is it crammed in there? Is it a huge house? Is it
It's
a,
pretty small.
okay,
The
so,
house itself is actually like kind of like a bit larger for like a San
hmm,
Francisco place, but I mean they've been living there for like a little while before I was born, and so
hmm,
it wasn't worth as much as it is like now, I would say, I guess. I mean
okay,
that's my impression I have. Um, and yeah, so and then these other rooms I can kind of like pure um, um, these are other rooms just like in the house at the time as well. a few like these corner squares, like the bottom left one where you see these like two, I don't know, these like four kind of circle objects. Those that's not like that's not a room. That's more like so so there are three sections. Each of those sections have like these corner pieces. This is one of those corner pieces, which those are more not those aren't rooms. Those are more images based on like memories of objects I have like around that time period that I just sort of like associate with. Yeah.
Can you tell us what this is, or is that?
Yeah, it's kind of it's been like kind of abstracted, but there's like so there's two circles like going from like left side right side that like mirror each other. Those are like those kind of exercise balls, or there's not exercise balls, but like those kid like bouncy balls that you like sit on and like jump up and down on. It's hard to tell, but there's these pudding cups on the bottom left and the bottom right.
Pudding cups.
I just
you had pudding as a kid. 2-year-old. You remember that?
So there's my brother would be so annoyed with me if I mentioned this, but
Are you older or younger brother? I'm sorry, just like cutting you off.
I'm a year and a half older. I mean, younger. Oh my god.
Oh,
year and a half younger.
So your brother would remember a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
Really, but there's like.
Have you shown this to him, or see?
I have, yeah. I haven't gone into like in-depth explanation as I am right now. But there's like there's a series of like photos, like child photos and like a photo book album at home somewhere of like my brother eating this like chocolate pudding cup really messily, and I used to just make fun of him all the time for that series of photos. Anyways, yeah. Connection. Why? Technical difficulties.
Oh, did it just turn off or something?
Yeah, the camera just stopped displaying.
Maybe unplug and plug it back in or something.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh. Hello.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Goodness. Okay. Murphy's Law. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. You were saying that last night.
Yeah. Isn't that always how it goes? Yeah. So these other rooms, all these other rooms are rooms in the house. I guess I could go into more detail if you'd like. If there's one that strikes your fancy, but there's like a bathroom. My grandparents. I also live with my grandparents, and there's one of the bottom left one that we're seeing on the screen right now. That's
with the triangles.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's a bed. Okay, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bed. There's like a little like a barca lounger, and
starting to get it now. Yeah. Okay.
The other
oranges on the side of the orange slices or something. See a sports car.
There's a little bit of like a language to like get used to.
Yeah. How did you come to develop that language? I mean, is it through just sketching a lot or Illustrator?
Yeah, it's just kind of the way in which that like made the most sense working in Illustrator, and like the way like I guess like the aesthetic that I'm just drawn to. I don't really have like I don't know if I have like a huge logic to it other than like it just kind of looked nice this way. And it was the quickest way to work in Illustrator for this process to be streamlined. And so I'm not like, I wouldn't call myself like an expert with Illustrator, but I'm pretty like, kind of like adept with like a few of the tools. And so these are just repeating those same tools over and over. And so
it's
like
amazing. Yeah.
time
I
was
mean,
really like of the essence to like wrap up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so intricate. I think it's amazing. I wish like our camera could kind of do it justice, but like just it's like super high def. But I mean, no worries. I mean, I just want to talk to you. Like it's I mean, yeah. There's So this we're still looking at 1994. Is that correct? In San
Yes.
Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it?
That is
You yeah, maybe
we can move on to like a
yeah,
different
let's
time
move to the
period.
second year maybe, like
Yeah,
1998. Yeah.
totally.
Where's the
So yeah, 94, that was like pretty soon after, like not too long after they were divorced, and that like it
I
was
see.
sort of like adjusting to my brother, me, my mom moving in with my aunt and um, my mom and my aunt's parents and my grandparents. And so moving into this house that the three of them lived in and trying to adjust to all that. And so this is sort of like what the result of that is. And so the next time period is 98. Is that what it says on the thing?
98, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 98, let's move on to that section.
That would be like the top
So
right quadrant or whatever.
Mhm.
I see.
So
Okay.
that's now what we're looking at. Just so we can get sort of like a more, I guess, global view of the whole section, kind of. Each section kind of has, so each section actually does have like, has the city and like the year date on it. I just like
Oh,
somehow
okay.
have amnesia about the year. But that's like a good little reminder right there.
Oh,
So
okay. Let
it's
me
kind
zoom
of
in.
hard to,
Okay.
it's a little bit hard to see, but
Okay, I think yeah.
but it does have the year on it. So it makes maybe like a little bit more sense for this to be next to like that tile project, because that has so this whole like quilt thing has, they're all San Francisco. It's just the year that changes. But
I
in
see.
the other project, like the city and the year are things that are sort of in flux.
Right, right. And just to review, I
So
think if I'm remembering like what you said correctly, the quilt is representative or is related to you, your mom, and your brother,
yeah,
and where
yeah.
you've lived, whereas the tile project was your dad.
Mhm.
What was life like? I mean, I guess 98 you might have been what, 6 years old ish, or I don't know.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
that was
remember
that's like
from
faster
that?
math than
Yeah, what was
um
I played piano. I could count up to four. Yeah, maybe that's about it. But two plus four
um
is six. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, what was
90.
6-year-old Jordan Wong like in
God, I know. I'm
San
trying to
Francisco?
remember. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to zoom in on this
Okay. Yeah.
the
Let's pick a
corresponding
good one. Pick a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
memory square.
Okay.
So it's the top left one.
Oh, is that
Um,
Simpsons?
yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
good eye. Yeah,
I'm getting
clocking
it. I'm getting it now. Okay.
clocking
Wow.
Smithers and Mr. Burns looking longingly at each other. um,
Smithers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a yeah. So the question, what was I like? I
Yeah, yeah.
was very introverted and played a lot of video games and watched a lot of TV, which I would say is very much indicating of what this square is all about. A lot of Simpsons, a lot of there's an image on like the right side of that square of like this very particular like Pokemon puzzle league game that I was obsessed with. And I don't know, the bottom left was like a kind of a Game Boy image. Yeah, and
Yes, yes.
it's very much there's like a AIM kind of bar at the top right that's really hard to make out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very much a product of like video games and like sort of internet culture, um, and not particularly social, I would say. I mean, I have a hard. I don't remember that much about the time, to be
Did you have
honest. But
friends as a 6-year-old? I mean, like, were you, so
yeah,
you're
I think
home,
so. Yeah,
you're a
yeah. I
loner,
wasn't.
just playing your Game Boy?
Yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah,
say that video games was definitely like sort of the bonding element of that time
I
period.
see, I see. So you
Yeah.
probably in like grade one, elementary school-ish. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No
Were you home?
idea.
I mean, I guess maybe I don't know if this is a fair question or whatever, but like, were you home a lot as a kid? I mean, it like this kind of whole quilt makes me think of like hominess, and then you have floor plans of everywhere you've lived. I mean, it must have had quite an impact on you. Yeah. And were you born in the States, actually? I don't know.
Yeah.
But you were, okay.
Yeah, born in San
I
Francisco.
see.
So my parents are from Hong Kong, but I was born here.
Okay.
So I
Got
don't
it, got it.
really speak a lick of Cantonese. Or
What
like
what
I
year?
know like a kindergarten
Yeah.
level.
When did they come over to the States?
That's embarrassing. I don't
Before
actually
before
know.
you were, it was before you were born, pretty much, right? Like
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. They
I
had
see.
been here for like a little bit. Um,
Okay.
I don't quite remember the exact year.
Right. We came over to Canada in '92, so it's like roughly around the same time.
Hmm.
Slightly older, yeah, than you. So I was like 7. I feel like old,
Right.
whatever. But yeah, like it was. I remember clearly, yeah, the kind of like migration or whatever. And, but
Yeah.
you
So
were already there, San Francisco. I mean, I don't know a whole lot other than like, were you aware of being like from Hong Kong at all, or was that sort of like not a big part of like home family life or whatever? Um,
um
like
I mean I've always
Simpsons was.
oh I mean I've always like wondered about it and what that was like. I didn't wonder too much about it though. I mean I think growing up in the US watching a lot of like white people on TV, that is maybe a slight indicator of like, oh maybe it's I would like to see people that look like me, but I guess that's not a thing here. So we watched a lot of Jackie Chan when I was growing
Uh-huh,
up.
uh-huh. Rumble in
We
the
were
Bronx. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Drunken master. We were big fan. We were
Oh,
big Jackie Chan stands.
right, right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, I mean, I was definitely yeah, I was home a lot. I think I don't know. My I think my upbringing was like pretty not too unlike I know other your perhaps stereotypical Asian family. Where you just
Which was what? Yeah, I mean, not everybody's. Yeah.
yeah, like I know going home like immediately after school and doing homework and
The good kid, the good kid.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Like
okay. I see.
not I didn't have a tiger mom, but it was a little
Okay.
there was like a little bit of that energy.
You weren't, yeah,
Uh,
okay. You weren't
yeah.
partying too hard as a 6-year-old.
Yeah, no, it was a
Uh,
total like straight edge, like boring.
that was pretty boring too. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, well, I guess one little funny detail, I guess. So the square on the right side, there's two, you can kind of make out two beds there.
Right?
So this is like a new layout to the house of like this maybe like the largest change where like there was some remodeling on the house because I think at the time it didn't cost like I don't know a fortune to do that.
Uh,
Where in which they like added a few like rooms to the house in which to sort of like accommodate so that we wouldn't be living in like a bunk room forever. And so
oh, so
I just
by '98 you were living in a house.
same house but just like
Okay.
remodeled a bit. And
Oh, I
so
see, I see. How many
like
bedrooms was it?
uh so now there's a total of 5 bedrooms and 5 people living in the house or 6 people living in the
I
house.
see.
Before there was only 2 bedrooms, I think. Yeah, there were only
Hmm.
2 bedrooms before.
Okay.
And so the square on the right, it's a bit tricky to make out, but there are two like kind of small twin beds, and so that was the room that my brother and I shared
Uh-huh.
for like quite some time.
Okay.
And then the room to the left of it is my mom's room. And you
I
can kind of
see.
see there's like a little small bed on like the bottom where like if I was spending like the weekend somewhere else, like for like a field trip or I don't know, at a friend's house, then like my brother would like drag his bed to her room, or I would drag my bed to her room
Oh,
and like sleep in her room.
oh wow.
It'd be like a sleepover thing.
Oh, lucky mom.
A kind of funny memory to like look back on now.
Oh, interesting. You literally dragged your whole bed over.
Our rooms are like right next to each other, so it wasn't a huge
Okay.
thing. Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess
Oh, wow.
for a child my age, it was maybe more difficult. But yeah,
Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I'm a dad. Yeah, and I have a 5-year-old
yeah,
kid,
yeah.
and only one kid, but he does like to sleep with us or mommy. I'm actually sleeping in his room. He's sleeping in my
Yeah,
spot.
I like
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that now.
Yeah, you get that. Oh,
I feel like I mean after working on this project, I like totally forgot that was a thing that happened. I was like, oh yeah, wait, that makes sense. I was like here, I was like watching this TV show where like a mom's talking about that. I was like, you're crazy. But I'm like I
that's
I don't know,
great.
I immediately remember now, like, oh, that's very like normal.
Oh man, yeah, I've never conceived of that before, but yeah, it's makes a lot of sense. So, what's the weird circle thing? Like, is it the tornado like garden maze in your mom's
uh,
room? The big, is that a
this like exercise ball
okay?
that
Okay.
like we're
You had a
just
lot of exercise balls in the house, huh?
we had two, I think, in
Yeah,
total ever,
one
and
for each brother.
they were never actually used for exercise. They were only ever just for sitting on.
Hmm.
Um,
What was your mom like? Is she like an exercise freak or was it?
no,
Okay.
absolutely not. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
we're all kind of my aunt is kind of sporty, but we're all other than her, we're all relatively stationary people.
Hmm. I see. I see. And were any of your family members like artists at all, or were you kind of just like
Yeah, I'm the
sprouted?
weirdo. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you
came
are.
out of
Okay, okay.
nowhere.
Got it, got it.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I had a teacher ask me that once, and I was like,
Okay.
no, my mom's an accountant. My aunt like used to work for insurance, and she's kind of doing something else now, but like not art. I think she's always wanted to, but it never quite like panned out. I mean, my brother does art now, but that was like way after the fact, you know.
After you
Um,
did it.
Yeah, a little bit. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of it really kind of came out of nowhere. So all this art stuff I'm doing, it's like kind of I feel like half makes sense to them,
Mm.
but they're like excited by it. But yeah, I mean the prospect of like wanting to attend like some expensive art school, everyone was very like, what in the world? Your classic kind of response.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at your bio, which is super impressive. Like you won all these awards and won all these like film festivals and stuff. Like, is your mom
Um,
into that at all, or she's like, oh, just Jordan? Has she seen any
No,
of your films? Or
she's very proud. Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
yeah, she hasn't seen the film I'm working on now that's about her, so I'm a little
oh,
scared.
okay.
But I don't know. I
What's
mean,
that about? Is it? Can you talk about that a little bit, or is it kind of secret right now? Or-
I can talk about it. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's this quilt's gonna make an appearance in it.
Oh, cool.
And it's kind of, I mean, this is like I guess spoilers, but it's about like it's a film that the way how I've been describing it is that it's a film that like is about my dad, but it's actually about my mom. Because we're sort of talking around a lot of things in circles and a lot of speculating about what he is thinking because he's not spoken to in the film and he's not really in our lives anymore. He's moved back to Hong Kong for health reasons after sort of like a slew of different of like jumping around. But and I guess I don't know if this was obvious or not, but they divorced, which is why he's not sort of in this part of this quilt anymore and was spread on the two different projects. And the idea of making work about like divorced parents is always sort of like um, I don't know, like difficult to make. So I've tried making work about it before, and it didn't quite pan out. But I think this felt like an opportune time to revisit that.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, the quilt is sort of like they're sort of in arrangement of like abstract animations in it that and cut interviews of me, my mom and my brother sort of speaking about like what we think he might be thinking, what he might have been thinking at the time, and memories associated with it. And I don't know, a lot of it's kind of based on this like like really utilizing like unreliable memory in some sense, but like remembering like the feeling about the time and about what we remember about, yeah, well, the feeling of it all. But yeah, my mom was very candid in the interviews, which I was surprised by. But there's all to say, I think she hasn't seen it. I'm a bit nervous, but I think it paints her in like a nice light that she doesn't normally get to take spotlight very often.
Mm. I mean, speaking of like typical Asian, families or whatnot, like is divorce something that is talked about, in circles or whatever, or is it like, yeah, has it been hard for your mom to kind of even talk about it plainly, or is that been,
She's super open about it, actually. I mean, a lot of time has passed. I mean, it's been like what, like almost 30 years, I think. So it's been quite some time for her. Like she has a very different sort of she thinks about it very differently than I do. I harbor some uh a little bit of resentment in some ways. I guess this project all definitely was a reminder of how that's still there. And I don't know if it will. I don't know. I haven't tried thinking a bit like how if that will how that'll change over time. But she's very at peace with it, and she's very comfortable talking about it. I mean, I think it's sort of your classic relation of like we don't have very deep conversations very often, but when they do, I think they're pretty candid. So and I don't know, it was really nice to hear her talk about it because it isn't something that we talk about often. And this was sort of this gave us like a reason to talk about it.
I see. Wow, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I should share this, but I had got to see a little bit of your film, and I know it's not ready to be released yet, and I don't, yeah, want to spoil too much to everybody, but yeah,
It's
it was,
okay, you can.
it's incredible. It was incredibly moving, yeah, for me to watch and see that, and as a father as well, who hopefully can stay with my family and do the best I can. But just kind of seeing and hearing like the heart of a wife, a spouse, a mother, whatever, and a child, sibling, yeah, sons and whatnot, whatever like role, yeah, one might play. I think just kind of the impact, yeah, it has on the family. Like it just totally wrecked me. Yeah, it's just, yeah,
Oh.
totally torn. And B, wow, like how amazing of you to share so intricately and intimately, yeah, through this medium. I think it's quite amazing, yeah, the way you've, no pun intended, but like just weave a lot of the pieces, together. That's all I got. Yeah. Um, yeah, in terms of like, yeah, the two separate tile project and the quilt, and then you have the film. Do you see them kind of like as like some mega three-piece project or something? Like you have
Yeah,
this
I kind
special
of
number
do.
three. I mean, you've got 3 years, there, three timelines. And you've got the Jordan Wall artist, the piece, and you're in the space.
God.
God, the
Uh,
Trinity. No, what else? Sorry.
yeah, I mean, I really like, I don't know, I've been really intrigued about this idea of like of like combine, like working in a realm where you're making like filmmaking, but also involving like an element of installation to it, where like, I don't know, I've been working in this, I guess maybe some other background is that I like in my entire undergrad, I worked on all the films I made were all hand drawn just on paper, just because
Okay.
that was like a very specific like visual aesthetic that I enjoyed, and I wasn't particularly adventurous about learning other modes of animation. But after like 3 years of doing that, I sort of like, I don't want to draw ever again. And so I know a lot of like my now work that I'm doing is very much informed by like, oh, I don't want to really work in this mode. So it's then trying to work around that. And so like, it's just with the rule of like, I mean, this is kind of breaking that rule in some ways, but I don't want to draw, at least in like the traditional sense of drawing on paper or drawing on the computer. I mean, I think working in Illustrator was a little bit different just because it's so geometric and working in like a different way where I'm drawing with shapes as opposed to like, I don't know. I felt like a different mode of working that, but yeah. And so with that being said, like avoiding drawing, like a lot of the animation that I enjoy doing now is working with objects, whether that be like found objects or objects that I create that were made with the intention to animate. And so the result of that, there's a film that comes about from that whole process, but then there's a lot of sort of ephemera, like leftover material in the process of making the film that I'm very, I don't know, I'm such a hoarder of like things, and I have a really hard time throwing things away. And like the idea of like trying to figure out a way in which those objects can live as their own separate piece that if it's I guess one still interesting, and two like can still give sort of information in like a specific way that might be enriching, that's separate from the film, that like both like. And so I guess there's, I'll just say like with this project in particular, like there's a tile project, there's this quilt project, and I think the tile thing and the quilt thing give you like kind of different pieces of information and you're kind of left, if it's like in a room as like an installation, you can kind of look at it for as long as you want, whereas versus like a film, whereas like I'm kind of dictating how long you're allowed to look at the thing, right, and kind of directing you towards things. And so you're kind of getting two very different like outlooks on like things based on if you're looking at the installation or the film. But then if you get both, then you kind of get all of it in some ways. And there's still like I'm being pretty candid about like explaining what things are that we're looking at. But I mean, if this were to be in a room as some sort of like installation, that's not something I would tell you unless you asked me. So
Right.
I mean, there's like a level of like there's kind of a wall that you would hit without like me telling you what things are, of like understanding what it is. And so I find that kind of interesting, of like the object and like the film and them being separate but together, and them giving you different pieces of information. Like maybe that's kind of like I know obviously like a pretty simple concept that I wouldn't say is revolutionary at all, but that's just something I've been thinking about a lot and trying to like figure out a way in which to. I think a lot more about that in a way how I work in the future. Like I've been kind of doing that like by accident, but being a lot more intentional about it. Like this is the case where I was a lot more intentional about it. So
It's very rich. It's very rich, yeah. And I can only imagine, yeah, like the potentials it could have, where whether they're in separate spaces or the film and the quilt are in like the same space, and just maybe the quilt. Did you say it might make an appearance in the film itself even?
it's supposed to,
Maybe,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
thanks so much to this residency, I was able to actually finish the quilt. It's been sort of like
Yeah.
in like an in process state for a really long time. I should also say I don't think she's watching at all, but there's another CalArts alum named Bronwyn Maloney who like is like the one that I right now kind of owe my life to, because she like helped construct the actual quilt, like quilt it all together. Like I spent my whole time at this residency just like kind of working on very technical details of like adding sort of a little bit more structural integrity to it, and like adding this like thing to the back so it can be installed on like a wall or something. But I mean, she's really the one that made this all come together. Otherwise, this wouldn't exist without her. So I just wanted to shout that out and thank Automata too.
Yeah. Wow, that's super cool. I wonder, I mean, I can't wait to see how, this will get kind of how it'll live in the world, both the quilt and also yeah the film. Do you have any like idea at all for people who might be interested in the film? Like, are you planning to release it anytime soon, or is that too much?
Um, no, that's a very fair question.
Uh,
It's
I mean,
something
I
I'm won-
personally would want to see it. Yeah,
it's
just
something I'm wondering when it'll get done also.
mhm.
I mean, I think with this being done, actually,
Yeah.
there's like
Your plan is
another,
to do the quilt first, yeah, and then kind
yeah,
of
I sort of
yeah.
needed to finish this in order for
Right,
the film to get done. Like that's like not really true. I mean, like the film could have been done without it, but I mean, I would have
right,
been
right.
not as happy with it if it wasn't in it. But just because it makes, I don't know, they kind of belong with each other. But yeah, so I mean, now that this is done, there's a few more steps of like shots that I just need to sort of figure out how to get done. But I'm hoping to like have it done by like, I don't know, the next few months at the latest. And I have like a, I don't know, festival run like by the end of the year.
Okay, okay,
That's the plan.
yeah, okay,
Like it's in a
okay.
state right now that like, I don't know, everyone I've shown it to is like, it's done, shut up.
I thought it was done too.
I'm just like, you're wrong. That's not true. You're wrong. I know.
Yeah, you do strike me the type of person, yeah, that would be. I mean, you were fixing all the camera angles before we
God, I
came
know. I'm
online.
such a
I
pain in
had to
the
call
butt.
you to get you on here.
I know. I'm just like this is a pain in the butt to work with.
Oh. Did we get
Thank.
to? I don't want to cut you off, but did we get to talk about 2020? I mean, I know that there were
I know.
3 year
Sorry.
time
I
period,
just
but
I just like switched it to it right now.
no, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I mean, we could kind of,
Um.
yeah, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more before we wrap up. Be really cool.
Yeah. Sure. It's not like a huge amount has changed. Like room orientation has changed just a little bit in that
Mhm.
like now, my brother
It's
and I have our
still
own
San
room.
Francisco. So,
Still San Francisco, nothing like not that much has changed, but like
mhm.
I just don't have, I'm not in the same room as my brother anymore. We have separate rooms now.
Well, you live in
Um,
LA too, right? So you're kind of
yeah, so this actually is also
mm,
like these are still the rooms like in San Francisco that
okay.
my brother is in LA too, actually. So neither, well, he's back home for different reasons right now. But yeah, so normally we would not be living there. But so
Okay.
this is just sort of a new it's a bit blurry, but a new orientation where we just have separate rooms now. And yeah, there's yeah, I guess if you have specific if there's like a specific square, I can kind of
Yeah, I mean, I see the
direct like
beds, I see the exercise balls. uh, I
the
don't see Simpsons
themes.
here. Did you stop watching TV? I mean, by now you're on the internet, right? So,
I know.
um,
This like this like kind of quote
oh,
memory
okay.
square is like a little different just because I was like I don't know what's happening. We're in a weird time.
Which one are you talking about?
So right now the top left one, that's
Okay.
more just
You can
like
just focus just a little bit. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Oh no.
You know, I'm oh I think come on. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm only getting a phone call. Um, by the way, I think I don't know. Oh,
Ah,
there
there
it
we
is.
go.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that top left one is just like I know that's like
With the
it's just like a following like the overall aesthetic look to the whole thing. I wouldn't actually
mhm.
say it's committing like memories of stuff other than just like this thought it looked cool. There's a lot of squares. There's a lot of squares in here that I just thought looked cool that need to fill out space.
Are you
um,
talking about the one with the circles or
yeah,
the
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. Those ones. So like the squares that aren't within those like quadrants, those like for
Hmm.
the most part, like those are like kind of architectural, but they don't necessarily like have a meaning, I guess I
Okay.
should say. So the ones that I've like tried to focus the camera on, those are sort of like the important ones. Um,
I have a comment here on Facebook saying, really appreciate the idiosyncratic hieroglyphic language you've developed. And also the bird's eye view is all kind of like looking at a circuit board. So it looks like
mm,
both, it feels both ancient and temporary. Yeah, at the same time.
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah, I like that comment a lot. It's really part of the brand. Yeah.
You're doing it. You're doing it. So, huh. Wow.
Um,
So
that's really
2020, I mean, can you give us a little, you kind of, I'm kind of messed up my structure coming in, but I'm trying to flow as smoothly as I can. But like, yeah, like 2020 Jordan Wong slash you're full grown artist now, you know, bigger, stronger, faster, uh, better with your hands, filled with emotional honesty, hands on. Yeah, make some films during the quilt.
lol. Yeah, yeah.
So what is there any difference, yeah, in maybe like this part of the quilt, since you know maybe we started with the quilt and we can stay with the quilt kind of to close it off, like in terms of you know like having us to kind of get to know you and get to know this particular piece. We talked a lot about films and your life and whatnot, and I always want to hear about your life, but like I think um yeah, 2020, is there something that we can kind of get to know, yeah, with this sort of portion of the quilt and your life?
Yeah, totally. I haven't, I mean, it's a great point to make. I haven't actually thought too critically about that. I mean, I think like, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, like
Yeah.
so this section is actually the only one in which like, where we are, like my mom, my brother, me, all have separate rooms, which in
Okay.
some ways, like, a little bit of, I mean, a little bit of something I'm just now thinking a little bit about is like we're sort of
Mm.
together but separate a bit. Like I guess in some ways, like this time period of 2020 is supposed to mirror sort of this isn't the year that he moved back to Hong Kong. So he like my dad, he like moved from San Francisco to New York and then to Hong Kong.
I see.
He like moved back to Hong Kong like a few years before that, like not in 2020, but I'm kind of equating it a little bit to that of like this is like this is kind of where I am now,
The current
like
state of
with
things, yeah.
yeah, current state of things and like current state of him, I'm not fully aware of. But so the latest I know, which is like him moving to Hong Kong and being there and that living situation. And so that's sort of in some ways like a mirror of like foils to each other. But like I don't know, I guess in some ways like it is a little bit of like where I'm like my room and my brother's room are here, but I'm not actually like living there. And sort of the same with my brother in some sense. So I guess I don't know, it's a little bit of like I'm noticing that we're just sort of separated right now. But I mean we still talk and we're still together, but um it's like a bit of a somber comment to make.
Mhm.
But
It's very 2020. Yeah,
yeah.
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 Separate in
Didn't
place. Yeah.
didn't really notice that before, but
Mm,
I don't know. We're separate, but I mean, we're still obviously on good terms,
mm.
and like doing fine.
That's cool. That's cool.
I think is maybe the
She,
only word to say.
yeah. Is your mom healthy? Yeah, she's well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she's doing
Mm,
okay. She's doing
that's
good.
cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah. That might be as much as I guess would care
That's
to
cool.
divulge.
Oh, great, great, great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, thank you. Like, yeah, no, I think that's you've given us quite a bit, I think, today to kind of take in and yeah, I think I have
Yeah, maybe really quick, I can just switch the lens so you can actually see like a crisper overall view of the whole thing.
okay. Yeah. Cool.
And then I know we're a little time-wise over, but
No,
just to, I don't know, we were kind of cropped in for most of the time.
yeah. No, might as well.
Is it kind of what I wanted? Oh, there we go.
I hope they don't give us that white square thing.
Oh God, yeah. Huh.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Okay.
this is nice.
Ooh.
There it is. Let me spotlight it again. Oh no.
Oh my. Oh, it'll go away in a second.
Okay, got it.
I just wanted to try to focus. Oh, I could have just done that. Oh, okay. Anyways, cool.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Wow.
The monster that's been plaguing me the past few months.
Yeah, you've been living with this thing, right? I mean, I think, I don't know,
Just-
is it embarrassing to say I caught
Yeah.
you taking a nap with
Gosh, yeah, just like
this week?
haunting
Yeah.
me.
It's
Non-stop
everywhere.
work.
Yeah. This is really life and art right here.
Yeah, very embarrassingly saw my setup of napping on the floor.
Comfortable.
That's correct.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know. I remember like I have a friend who like was suggesting that like if you want to take a nap but you can't risk like oversleeping, you just have to sleep really you have to set it up so that you sleep really uncomfortably. That means so that way you won't be in too deep of a sleep. And it's like, oh, that's horrible advice, but I do listen to that pretty often.
Well, you're the artist in residence. So yeah, that's super awesome. Wow. Yeah, no, I like this view. This is great.
And I wish we could make it square and not. Oh well.
Well, one day when all this pandemic stuff dies down, I'm sure. Yeah, it'd be great to see it in person. And like,
Yeah. Geez.
yeah. But definitely keep us posted. On that. Is there anything else you'd like to share or talk about today? Or I've been the one asking questions, but like,
No, I mean, I appreciate it. I think you pretty much covered it all. I
tried to cover it. Yeah. Why, what, where, when, how.
Yeah. I think I talked enough. I talked a lot. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything more that I was thinking to add. Yeah, other than I think just I planned that the film will be done this year by the summer, ideally.
Great. Yeah. That'd be really wonderful. Well, I'm gonna cut you off here. I might still talk to you after this, but as far as for the stream, yeah, I'll let the people go back to their work probably in their lunch hour. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. This is Jordan Wong. Jordan, thanks so much for just so intricately kind of talking us through everything. I really admire your work, and I think really had a good time so far. Getting to know you, and really fun to talk to, and I love the kind of we didn't get into this, but I really do feel the emotional honesty is really admirable in your work, and whether you say anything at all or it's just everything is just like in the thing. I can feel it. So thank you for bringing that to Automata. Thank you for sharing that with me, and then everyone who's watching and who will watch. And wish you
Thanks
the
so much
best.
for having me.
And
thanks to Automata. Thank you, Automata.
Yeah. All right. Well, talk soon. Bye.